there! David Beaucage au micro ici pour un nouvel épisode de Drette sur le tape. J'espère que vous allez bien. J'espère que l'automne vous traite convenablement, hein, peu importe d'où vous nous écoutez. D'ailleurs, à chaque fois que vous nous écrivez sur nos réseaux sociaux pour nous dire que vous nous écoutez d'endroits X ou Y, ça nous fait extrêmement plaisir. Donc, il y en a des gens qui nous écoutent de toutes les régions du Québec, du Canada même, les francophones hors Québec. Il y a également des gens de l'Europe, des Français entre autres, mais beaucoup d'autres qui nous ont écrit. Il y a même des gens de l'Allemagne. J'avais déjà eu des messages de l'Australie. Bref, n'hésitez jamais, écrivez-nous sur les réseaux sociaux. Ça nous fait extrêmement plaisir de savoir d'où vous nous écoutez. Et c'est très chaleureux, quoi. Et peu importe où vous êtes, j'espère que l'automne vous traite bien. Parler d'Australie, tantôt, c'est peut-être pas l'automne. En Australie, c'est peut-être l'inverse. En tout cas, bref, j'espère que l'automne vous traite convenablement, que vous avez sorti votre petit jacket et peut-être que la nouvelle saison de Drette sur le tape vous apporte un petit baume dans la froideur. J'ose espérer, peut-être, le plus beau compliment, là, c'est si, mettons, les épisodes de Drette sur le tape là, ont peut-être l'effet sur vous peut-être l'équivalent d'un pumpkin spice latte pour une jeune étudiante universitaire avec les cheveux en tocon mouillé et des sweatpants. Donc, alors, voilà, merci de nous écouter, ça me fait extrêmement plaisir et je suis très fier de vous présenter le nouvel épisode avec un gars que vous connaissez probablement, si vous êtes un fan du Canadien ou peut-être que vous avez suivi la Ligue nationale, Monsieur Dale Weise, The Dutch Gretzky. On va revenir sur son surnom dans l'épisode. Ne vous inquiétez pas, tout sera expliqué. Oui, Dale Weise, écoute, quel gars fabuleux, un gars tellement smart. J'avais eu la chance de le croiser alors que je faisais des capsules pour le Rocket de Laval. Et tout de suite, il m'avait semblé être une excellente personne. Et puis, dans la pandémie, tout ça, enchaînement d'événements, il s'est un peu parti lui aussi, un peu son propre podcast qui s'appelle Habs Tonight. Vous aurez checké ça. Ce que j'aime de Dale Weise, c'est que c'est un gars qui ne se gêne pas pour dire ce qu'il pense vraiment, surtout avec peut-être la Ligue nationale qui est derrière lui, selon évidemment ses propres dires. Et donc, il peut dire son opinion telle qu'il l'entend sans avoir peur maintenant d'avoir des conséquences. Donc, c'est vraiment un gars qui est assez transparent, puis j'adore son franc-parler, j'adore son honnêteté, puis il nous donne un insider du insight dans le fond sur ce que c'est d'être dans la Chambre du Canadien avec les individus en question, même Ligue américaine, on va parler de Laval, de Joël Bouchard. Donc, bref, j'adore converser avec Dale Weise, c'est vraiment comme parler avec un bon boy dans ton équipe de hockey autour d'une pinte, et vraiment, j'adore ce gars-là. Qu'est-ce que je veux dire par rapport à ça? Oui, c'est ça, c'est que Dale, avec la pandémie, en tout cas, bref, il était revenu dans le bubble avec les Canadiens. Mais là, vous allez le comprendre, en tout cas, là, il recommence à jouer au hockey après une année sabbatique durant un concours de circonstances assez particulier. Donc là, on a enregistré ça moi de Montréal, mais lui de la Suède. Et parce qu'il a recommencé à jouer dans la Ligue suédoise. Et la seule fois que je voulais mentionner pour le contexte, c'est qu'au début, on commence un peu sur les chapeaux de roue, c'est que en fait, Dale en avait une heure de podcast et Dale arrivait pas. Puis j'étais comme un peu surpris. Je me disais, c'est le genre de gars qui est à l'heure, tu sais, un gars qui a une éthique de travail, un gars de... Et j'essaie de le contacter, incapable. Je me suis dit, wow, ça ressemble vraiment à un oubli. Tu sais, il a l'air d'un gars qui a juste complètement oublié. Il est dans un autre fuseau horaire. On lui a rappelé, mais en tout cas, et finalement, non, c'était son Internet qui a lâché. Puis pendant 40 minutes, il était même pas capable de répondre à mes messages sur Instagram parce que son Internet était down. Donc, tout ça pour dire, il est arrivé, il arrive toujours d'habitude d'avance, donc il est arrivé un peu en s'excusant, tout ça. Mais on a quand même fait le podcast, on a pu faire tout ce qu'on avait à faire. Donc, tout ça pour dire, c'est pour ça que Manny, je pense qu'il fait une référence à non, c'est pas que je voulais pas. Donc, bref, voilà. Je vous laisse au bon soin de ce cher Dale Weise et de moi-même du passé. Alors, ça s'est passé, ça a été enregistré le 20 septembre 2021. Je le dis parce que avec son podcast Abstinent, des fois, il est sorti sur d'autres sujets récemment. Par exemple, ce qu'il pensait de Marc Bergevin ou des affaires comme ça. Mais ça, c'est sorti après qu'on a enregistré le podcast. Donc, des fois, si vous êtes pourquoi tu n'as pas parlé de telle ou telle affaire, c'est dans ce cas-ci parce que c'est sorti après l'enregistrement qui était, je le rappelle, le 20 septembre 2021. C'est bon, j'ai plus rien à dire et donc je vous souhaite un excellent épisode. Le voici, Dale, l'ancien numéro 22 du Canadien, Dale Weise.
Drette sur le tape avec David Beaucage.
Dale, thanks for being on, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, a little bit of a struggle to get on there, boys. I apologize, but honestly, my internet's been incredible. I've been here for 2 months now, and I've never had an issue. And I always come on early. I know before I do mine, I come on early and I test my internet and I make sure I'm good. Yeah. And I literally get on half an hour early, and I was like, okay, I haven't had a problem, so it's not gonna be a problem. And I've been battling for 65 minutes now, but we're on, so we're in business now.
We're in business. Just to give people a certain context, you're not in Canada right now. We're not even in the same time zone.
Right. I am in Oskarshamn, Sweden, which is like the southern part of Sweden. Not a lot of people know about this area, but so I'm 6 hours ahead of you, I believe. So it's been weird. It's been really weird. Like, I talk to my kids when I'm going to bed and they're just getting home from school, and then I wake up and I got to be up for almost 3/4 of a day before they wake up. So it's been weird, but I'm starting to get used to it.
So the family didn't tag along.
Yeah, you know what? Like my kids, my oldest is going to be 8 this Saturday actually, and my daughter's 6. And, they traveled around a lot. Like when we went Philly and Montreal and then Winnipeg and bounced around a little bit. And the older two, I don't know. The last year was so cool. They got a chance to have friends and have activities for the first time and be in the same place that we're in the summer. So that was just really cool to see for them. And I just didn't want to take them out of that. They finally got some friends. They're happy where they're at in Winnipeg. So I just didn't want to take them out of that. So it's a struggle for me, but I can get through it. It's one season, and that was it was an easy decision for me to make.
How did your kids like the Montreal? How did they like Montreal?
They loved Montreal.
The French part, but they loved it.
Yeah, they loved it. So, my son and my daughter was probably 1 when I was there my first time in 2015, 2016. But then my son was young, obviously loved the Canadians. That was the first team that he could say. It was the first team that he could actually, comprehend when he could see me play. So that was his favorite. So when we got traded back, he was so pumped. We live in Brossard, have a business in Brossard. So we just loved the area. And my kids included, he loved it. He went to Mary Laurier Academy. It was it was an English school, but he took some French, and he loved it. Yeah.
Did he pick up some French along the way?
Yeah, he was way better than me. My wife can speak French. She's not, she's from Winnipeg, but took French immersion in school. So she would kind of help him with the French work. That was definitely not my strong suit. I'm sitting there trying to he's almost teaching me in grade 1 to speak French. So it was something I couldn't pick up, but my wife really helped him out.
Because there's a French community in Winnipeg, as Jonathan Taze.
Huge, St. Boniface. Yeah, that's actually where I have one of the rental buildings that I own. It's a great French community. French is huge in Winnipeg too. There's a lot of French speakers in Winnipeg. Yeah, and
they're not Quebecers. They're actually people from the area.
Yeah. It's they have their own schools. It's partially why I bought the building in that area, because I know how passionate French people are about their language, and they like to stay with each other. So it's kind of like it's like you could go in St. Boniface in Winnipeg, and you think you're in some neighborhood on the South Shore in Montreal. It would be exactly the same.
Right. So how's the Swedish experiment going so far? I mean, for how long have you been there? And
so I came here August 2nd, and it was an adjustment. I've only ever lived in Europe for 2.5 months back in 2013 on the lockout. I was in Amsterdam. Yeah. So this is kind of like an adjustment again, just the living styles. Living in an apartment and small cars and just a lot of different things. But it's been good because everybody on the team speaks English. Everything, the coach is in English, the players are in English. Everything is just English. So the transition that way has been easy. And then I played 5 exhibition games, and I sprained my MCL, partially tore it. So I'm injured right now. So not a great start. Not a great start.
How did that happen?
Yeah, freak injury. So we played 4 exhibition games on the road in like random places, these small little rinks. It was horrible. So I was pretty amped up, to finally play a home game, get in front of the crowd. I know the crowd and the papers were excited. This guy played in the NHL. Let's see what he can do. So like first shift, I go out and run a guy, like huge hit, absolutely smash this guy behind the net, skate around for like maybe 10 more seconds. And I didn't think anything happened. And then all of a sudden I got this pain in my knee. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, there's no way it could happen from the hit. Like I skated for 20 seconds. I didn't feel anything. I went to the bench hoping it was just kind of going to go away. And then I could barely stand on it. So I knew something was wrong. Then I skated off and the doctor came and showed me the clip and it was just like an innocent play. I literally just skated past my teammate and he bumped my knee and it just went like, whoa. And it was just like such a subtle play. I didn't even realize it happened. And unfortunately, that's kind of all it takes to tear your MCL.
So for how long do you have to be on the sidelines?
Yeah, so I've been out 3 weeks now. It's normally like a 4 to 6 week injury. So I'm hoping to be skating maybe by the end of this week and maybe play next weekend. That'd be 4 weeks. It feels pretty good. I can do a lot off ice. I'm still waiting to get a brace for my knee. It's a little bit of a different, what's the right word? Things happen a little slower here in the NHL. You kind of like boom, boom, boom. You get used to everything happening right away, and you have the best of the best. You get to wait for things a little bit. So I'm still waiting for my knee brace to come, and then once I get that, I can start skating. Yeah,
we had Jerv on the podcast last week, the equipment manager in Montreal.
Oh yeah,
and he's like apparently one of the best, and he's like when a guy gets traded or whatever, we send him his gear like right away. Like he gets the gear like in a few days, and guys are like, "Whoa, I'm not even used to that in the NHL." So, let alone like in Sweden, whatever like league, it's a different reality.
Oh, it's completely different. I got hurt on Thursday. My injury was on a Thursday, and then I didn't get an MRI till the following Friday.
Right.
So I'm crutching around, barely walking. Don't know if I tore my ACL, tore my MCL. I'm walking 3 flights of stairs, get to my apartment every day. Like just no idea where, the NHL, you would have had an MRI the next morning, had your answer, and everything would have been figured out. So, there's a lot of things I'm adjusting to that are a little different from the NHL over here.
That's when you realize how good you had it and how lucky and privileged you were just to play in the NHL. And you played for like over 500 games, which is like very decent. But when you made the final choice of, when you chose Sweden, what else, what were the options? Other countries, other leagues? What were they at the time?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to last year. When I finished in the bubble, we finished at the end of August there with Montreal. I had a deal in place already in Switzerland. And I was in the bubble for 2 months, away from my family. My twins were still like a year old. They were still young. And it was a weird time in the world, right? Like, you don't know what's happening with COVID, or the season's going to play, what's going to happen. So I went home for 2 weeks, and the Switzerland team was like, hey, you got to come now or a deal's off the table. And I was like, I wasn't ready to make a decision at that point. So I was like, you know what, whatever, forget it. I'm not going to play. So I that's kind of how I ended up passing on that. And then, I had some NHL tryout offers for the start of last year. It would have been this year in January, sorry. But I didn't have a chance to skate for 3 months. So there's absolutely no way I could have went for a tryout. Everything was locked down in Winnipeg. There was no rinks open. You couldn't sneak into a building. So I wasn't about to jump and do an NHL, training camp. The training camps were 10 days. It was just a bad scenario. So, I was like, I'll just wait it off, and, I'll wait for a European free agency to open. Their season ends earlier, March, April, and I'll see what happens. I had some offers in Russia, and I wasn't really crazy about Russia. Because originally I thought I wanted to bring my family, and I wanted to go somewhere that, we could have a good experience and enjoy life a little bit. And, Russia wasn't, you hear some good stories, but you definitely hear a lot more, bad stories about the living. And like I said, I already didn't really want to move my family. And if I was going to go somewhere, it had to be really nice. And then because I backed out of the Swiss offers, there was a lot of teams there that were like, wow, he's not committed to playing hockey. And I heard that excuse a lot, which was pretty crazy. Barring we're in a global pandemic, I got a young family, but it is what it is. So I had some offers in the Swedish league. This was a team the coach called me right away and was like, really, really hungry to get me. And I really liked what he had to say. And, I wasn't too concerned about going to a big market. And I just wanted to go somewhere where, I thought me and the coach were on the same page and I could potentially bring my family. So that's how I landed on here.
So you kind of ended up taking a sabbatical? like in a way, because of like all the stops?
Yeah, essentially it wasn't my plan, right? I didn't really want to, but I just I don't know, man. I just really wanted to be with my family at that time, and I was, the world was kind of unsure of what was happening, so I thought it was the best thing for me.
And now that you've started playing again, the style of play in Sweden, I remember going. We've talked about it a bit, but I went with the podcast in 2018 to meet with Peter Forsberg. We did this thing called Mission Forsberg, trying to find the guy, and we actually did a crowdfunding campaign, and people were like, yes, go get him. And then it was crazy adventure.
Man, that's incredible though. Yeah. That's so incredible. That's unreal.
That was because now we're entering our 6th season. That was our 2nd season, and we thought we got to start with a bang, and we started the first episode of the 2nd season. We said, all right, guys, we got a crowdfunding campaign, $5,000. If we make it, we buy plane tickets and hotels and whatever, and we try to find. And I don't know, I haven't played in the NHL. Like you're probably like 2 text messages away from Peter Forsberg, but I'm no one. So it was not. I had not prepared or anything. I was like, maybe it's just me because he's like my youth. My first favorite hockey player was Forsberg. It was just everybody. It was a horse.
That's so wild.
Yeah, and then we ended up doing it, and then it was when we got the money, it was we actually have to find him now, and then we just can't back up from this stuff. So we ended up finding him, and we went to Sweden, and we went to his office in Stockholm, and
no way, just randomly, you just went to the office, knocked on the door.
No, we had this guy from his hometown, which is Örnsköldsvik, up north. That was I know Peter. I really want you guys to do this. And we're like, who's this? We call him the MVP because he's the MVP from the Forsberg, because he's I'm going to he plays golf with Peter and he's from the same town. He's like, wow, you're Canadian. We're Swedish. We both love hockey. He kind of took it upon himself, as he was very proud. We have to make this happen. What is this? Who are those 2 French Canadian guys? Very random. I just want to.
Incredible.
So anyway, he just arranged a meeting, and we did this preview. We had this trailer we filmed just to as a marketing piece. Anyway, it was crazy. And then he hooked us up with Marcus Naslund. So when we were up there, we did a podcast with Naslund in the arena, in the lobby where, and he was just the greatest, of course, typical Swedish shy guy, looking downward. And you're dude, you're a fucking all-star, you're borderline Hall of Famer, and you're you were on the cover of NHL 2005. But he's just classic, living in the small town and anyway, so all that being said, we ended up at the final game between Växjö and Skellefteå in the north, because we're hey, at this point, let's go and watch the game. It's the 4th game, and Växjö is leading up 3-0. So basically everyone knows they're going to win the championship that day. And it was Elias Pettersson was on the team. He was 19.
Okay. Oh wow.
Won everything that year. Won the scoring title, regular season. Won the the scoring title in the playoff MVP. He was just too good, and he was so skinny. He was 150 pounds. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so we get to the game, and my buddy who was with me, who co-produces the podcast, Tom, he played Princeton. He played Division I, and he's a goaltender. He played some good hockey. And we sit there and all right, Swedish Elite League. This is the final 2 best team, and the style of play, I remember, it was so shocking to me, so open. I think Pettersson got 4 breakaways. It seemed like the best beer league in the world. Not that they were not good players, but the style of play was so open. I was this is incredible. What's happening here?
I think that's what I mean. The best beer league in the world, it might be. And we again, I mean it in the most respectful way possible. That's kind of what it is. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't watch it before I came over here. I listened to Spit and Chicklets and stuff, and I heard Christopher Stieg talk about it, and he's it's kind of like rugby on ice a little bit too. Yeah. And I thought this was a very interesting comment. And I haven't seen the regular season. I've watched us play 2 games, but just in the exhibition games that I played in, it's a different style of hockey. It's not what I thought at all. It is wide open, and you can get some good chances. And a guy like Pettersson, obviously, a worldly talent in the NHL. I can only imagine what he did at this league, but it's a weird style. It's really hard. Like for the big ice though, they really like crowd spaces defensively, and sometimes they don't spread it out enough. Like, the ice is so big and so wide, and you could really, control the puck nicely, but it's a weird style. I'm still trying to get adjusted to it.
And how does your style fit in, because are you playing like, because if they brought you in, guy coming from the NHL, it's to play top six, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But it's, like I said, it's crowded areas. So it's like a grinding game. So it does benefit, I can play the game here any way you want, but there's just a lot of like clutching and grabbing and hooking. And obviously the officiating is not the best. So you can pretty much, like, a defenseman can go in and like bear hug you and hold you all day long. Like, really? There's a lot of things that's happened here that I haven't seen in like hockey before. Like, you go to the front of the net and like the other defense like grabs your stick. Like, there's beer league. That's like a beer league move,
Completely.
And that's what happens a lot here. And the officiating is just atrocious. So I don't know, man. I had one ref that like might have been the second last game before I got hurt. I think it was first shift of the game. I'm like 2 inches inside the faceoff circle. Like, NHL refs don't even kick out people for this. And he's like pointing at me. He's like, "Get out of there, get out." And I was like, "Okay, man, relax." So then play goes on. Boom, we get a shot, another faceoff. And he skates by me and he goes, "Try me." That's what he said to me. The linesman goes, "Try me."
Jesus.
And I'm like looking around like, this guy mic'd up? Like, is this a joke? Is this a prank? Like,
what?
It was so weird, man. So I don't know if it's like there's biased officiating on like imports or what it is, but it's that's what I've seen so far.
Do you feel like coming over from the NHL, people are like, "Hey, we're gonna show you" or something?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's like we're gonna show you, but it's like, you're gonna come to the Swedish league. We're gonna like, you're not going to get calls and kind of stuff like that. I mean, again, it was only exhibition game, but I saw it for 6 games, and that was more than enough that I needed to see. Yeah. So I'm hoping it's different in the regular season. We'll see when I get back. We'll have to talk after that.
That's when you realize the refs you had in the NHL are also the best in the world, at
True. And I love yelling at refs. It's my, one of my favorite things. It's NHL. You sit on the bench, something goes wrong, you yell at the ref.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what you do. It's a natural reaction. Like, you get a penalty, it's never a penalty. You yell at the ref on the way to the box, you go grab a seat. But, you think they're terrible, but they're trying their best. And then you come here and you just, it's another world.
You realize, because people like who, for instance, I don't know, people who listen maybe right now who maybe have just seen you play for the Habs or just, I don't know, on and off, don't know that, but you can bury the puck for real. Like, if you go and people go and watch your numbers when you played in the A, when you were with the Rangers, like and a lot of your seasons, you have more goals than assists for some reason. And I'm like,
for sure.
It's like,
I think that's what, I mean, I've dealt with that my whole career. Like, that's something, people are always telling me, social media heroes or whatever, you're a grinder, you're a plug, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, like, I don't think you understand how good you have to be to play in the NHL. I don't care what line you play on. There's plenty of guys in the NHL that play in the third, fourth lines and have unbelievable careers, and just as easily could be top 6 forwards if they're given the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But
for sure,
you just, sometimes you don't get the opportunity, or guys carve out roles as penalty killers, checkers, whatever it is. But any fourth line guy can leave the NHL and go be an elite player in any other league in the world.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
And people have no idea how tough also guys are. Like, this, like, softest guy in the NHL is the toughest guy you've ever encountered in your beer league.
For
you
sure.
have no
in any
idea.
other league, for sure.
You have no idea how crazy those guys like. And I play sometimes. There's a beer league here. I play on the North Shore, and I don't know if you remember Pascal Leclerc. He was a goaltender for Ottawa and Columbus, and now he plays defenseman because his knees are ruined and his hips. And there's a sentence he keeps saying. He says, "If you play top 6 in the NHL, you're a special player. Like, you're playing a top 6 role in the NHL. You have to be so good. Like you have a special talent at this point, you know? Like it's
Absolutely.
it's just a fact. And that doesn't mean like, and that's like just to be top six. So the other guys down the lineup are all fucking good. Like they're
everybody's so good now. Everybody's so good. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the last, I would say like 6-7 years in the NHL where those like, you know, the fighting has gone down and those lines have changed and teams are going more with like fourth lines that can play. Like everybody can play. Everybody can play. Your extra forward who's the 13th forward who plays 30 games a year can play.
Yeah.
You can play, you know, like guys are just so good. And I think people don't realize, you know, you have to carve out a different role for yourself. Like if you want to stay, if you think you're a skilled player, and I tell this to young guys all the time, if you think you're a skilled player and you're going to play in the NHL and play in the top six, like good luck. Good luck. I hope you're really special because you might go there and play for 1 year. You might play for 2 years, but the chances of you doing that are so slim. The chances of you making the NHL are slim. Chances of you being an elite skill guy is very, very slim. So you better find ways to do other things, be able to penalty kill, block shots, check, win faceoffs. Like those are the things that are going to keep you in the league for a long, long time.
Know your role, know your niche, you know, like, and you can,
you know, get on the team and find a role very quickly that team needs and, you know, you'll be successful and stay there. But if you think you're just going to go in there and be a skilled guy or you know, you got another thing coming.
Absolutely. You mentioned Winnipeg, your family's in Winnipeg because you're actually from Winnipeg, right?
Yeah. Born and raised. Yep. Yeah. Still, I still live there in the summers.
Right. And because I read somewhere you grew up a Habs fan, and I was like, but they were the Jets. Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah, so the Jets left when I was like 7. But from as long as I can remember, my dad was the biggest Montreal Canadiens fan. Like, you know, from when I was young, we never talked about the Jets. You know, we couldn't really afford to go to the games, so I might have went to like maybe 2 Winnipeg Jets games in my life when I was, you know, before they left when I was 7, because I mean, we couldn't really afford it. So we would watch the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night on TV with my dad, and you know, that's kind of where it started for me.
Who were your guys? Who were your guys growing up?
Oh man, I didn't even have main guys when I was younger. I mean, the one guy that I loved was Keith Tkachuk. He played for the Jets. That was the one guy that was like my guy. But I never had any like specific guys that I just loved. I just loved the team, their jerseys. I always had, you know, their clothes with their jerseys. I had you know, my light in my room at my parents' house. I'm pretty sure it's still the same light as the Montreal Canadiens score clock, and there's just Canadians everywhere. I just love the logo. You know, I think like any kid growing up, just you like what your dad does, and you want to be like your dad, and that was kind of how it stuck with me. You
must have been stoked when you got traded to Montreal. Like your dad must have been completely like.
Well, it was insane for me when I got traded. It was, you know, I was in Detroit. I was out for a morning skate, and Tortorella called me across the ice, and I was like, okay, I thought maybe he's telling me I was scratched or something. And he goes, hey, you just got traded. And then he walks away. He doesn't say anything. Okay.
Classic Torts.
Thanks. Yeah. Didn't say like, you know, good, nothing. Didn't say anything. He's like, yeah, you just got traded. Get off the ice. Walked away. I was standing there like, what the fuck? So I go off the ice, and the trainers it was an optional skate. So the trainer's there. He's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, well, I guess I got traded. And he's like, oh, where to? And I was like, well, I don't know. Torts just told me to get off. And Mike Gillis was GM at the time. He was going to call me. I said, okay. And then, you know, some of the other guys that weren't skating, like the Sedins and stuff, came in and were like, hey, did you get hurt? I was like, no, I actually got traded. They were like, oh, sorry. Like, it's really awkward when a guy gets traded, you don't know. And you know, they're like, okay, best of luck. And I got undressed. I went back to the hotel. It was like 3.5 hours before I actually found out where I was getting traded. I was like texting my agent. I was texting my parents. I was like, hey, is anything on the internet? Like, did you see where I'm going? Like anybody, something. Nobody called me, nothing, until Berge finally called me and told me, hey, it's Marc Bergevin. We just traded for you. And that was like just a really surreal moment that I'll never forget. Obviously, like, you know, I was the biggest Habs fan. So to know I was going there when things weren't really going well in Vancouver too, it was such a cool moment.
Do you remember what you're like talking to your dad when you found out? And
yeah, so I called my dad right away. Like, as soon as Berge called me, I hung up, called my dad right away. And he was like, he didn't even believe me. He's like, no. I was like, yeah, I'm serious, Dad. Like, I'm going to the airport right now. He's like, no. He's like, I got to go check the internet. I was like, do you think I fucking lied to you about that? Like,
I'm your son.
Who lies about that? Like, come on, man. So he was like, I got to call you back. I was like, okay. So I called my brother. I talked to my mom a little bit, and then my dad finally called back, and he was so pumped. He's like, you guys play Calgary tomorrow? Are you going to play tomorrow? Like, he was just so jacked up, man. It was a really cool feeling.
Did he fly in for your first game or?
No, man. My dad is such a blue collar guy. There's like, he wouldn't even let me flew him in if I wanted to. He got down there, I believe, the last weekend of the season. I think that's the first time he saw us. It was a couple months. I got traded, beginning of like February 8th or February 9th. And then he got down there like in April to see some games. So it was a little while, but the first game, he was like calling me all afternoon. Like, he's like, where are you? Where are you staying? Like, just nonsense. I was like, Dad, we talked about this last night. I got to have a nap. Leave me alone. He just kept calling me. He was so pumped up, man. Yeah. And it was just so cool. I was staying at the Cristal right across from the Bell Center. I stood there. I was like staring at the rink for like an hour, man. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. This is so cool.
As a blue collar type of guy, as you mentioned, your dad, what's his relationship to, to money when his son happens to sign at one point a $9 million contract? What's your dad's take on all this? I mean, because it's just unreal money for anyone,
Yeah, it's that's partially I think why I'm as humble as I am. Probably not partially, probably why I am. He's always instilled hard work in me and being a good person. When when I would send him some of the checks, like, you get a signing bonus and, you get it in 3 installments and you get the check. And, I send a picture to my mom and dad and I'm like, they just, it was just really a surreal feeling too, even for myself, when you start making those big checks. And then obviously you get into the NHL, you start making more. I think one of the best moments for me when I signed that deal, I was in Montreal, I signed with Philly. I flew home. My wife picked me up and it was July 1st the next day and I was throwing a huge party at my house. So I called my dad and my mom and I didn't tell them yet. And I said, hey, meet me at my house. I need you to help me set up for the party tomorrow. And then I got there and I was like, I'm not a very emotional person. Like even with my wife, I'm not very emotional. I don't really talk about my feelings. It's not really what I do. And it was just like, I was just overrun with emotions. I like started crying and like grabbed my dad. I was like, Dad, I just signed with Philly 4 years, $9.4 million. And it was like just one of the most gratifying moments of my life. Like, just a guy that's been there for me for everything. And just knowing that at that level, I'd have a substantial impact to help him and my mom out and do some things for them. There's just not a better feeling than that. Not even for myself to have the money. It was like just to have that feeling to share it with someone that's been there along for the ride was just, probably one of the best moments of my life. That's
a great story. Did you ever like buy him anything that you're like, oh, I gotta spoil you in some way?
Yeah. So I've done, as I continue to make more and more, I've done, some more substantial things for them. Like when I first signed, I bought this truck. It's a really, really nice Lincoln truck. And, so he bought me when I was 17 and junior, he bought me a truck and I said, and it was a lot of money at the time. And it wasn't a crazy amount, like, but, he was like sweating and he was like, I can't believe it. He's like, all right, I got to do this for you. And it was like, I knew it was a big deal for him. So I told him when he bought it, I said, Dad, don't worry. I'm going to sign a pro contract in 3 years. I'll give his truck back to you. And he's like, yeah, right. It's kind of a pipe dream. And then it was a cool feeling. So I went to New York at 20. I didn't have a contract. They're like, we're not going to sign you. You're probably going to go back to junior this year. I said, okay, we'll see about that. I went to rookie camp. I ripped up rookie camp in 4 days. They offered me a contract. And again, you dream about signing your first contract. And then again, I get a chance to call my dad. I said, hey, Dad, I'm going to need you to go to Swift Current to get my truck. And he's like, why? What happened to it? And I was like, well, I just signed with New York, so you got to go get it for me. It's yours now. So that was a cool feeling. And then I bought my truck. And then 3 years later, I signed my first one-way with Vancouver. And I went and bought myself a car. I bought this Cadillac car and I had it in the driveway. And my dad goes, what is this car? I said, it's my new car. I bought it. And he said, well, why would you buy a car? You have a truck. I said, it's not mine anymore. The truck's yours. So I ended up giving him my Lincoln truck, and that was really cool. You know, when I gave him back the other one, it was an old shitty truck, but when I could give him a truck that was, you know, literally almost brand new that I barely drove, that was a cool feeling. You know, and still to this day, like the guy, he doesn't drive it in the winter. Like it's a truck, you know, but it's a beautiful truck. Don't get me wrong. It's really, really nice, but the guy babies it. It's, you know, he treats it like it's the greatest thing in the world. And, you know, I've sent them on some trips, you know, a couple of material things and stuff like that. You know, and then finally about maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I wrote my mom and dad a pretty substantial check and said, look, you know, you reach your limit, like you can stop working now. Like this will be enough for you. And after that, I'll take care of you. And my dad still didn't stop working. He was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then, you know, throughout the pandemic and stuff, you know, my dad's 60 years old. He's working with older guys. Guys are getting COVID. He's working with, they're getting shut down. And I could see a little bit for the first time in my life that he was kind of like, you know, this guy loves working. He's blue collar. Like that's his whole life. He's loved it. And I could see it. It was finally like kind of breaking him down a little bit. And he wanted to step away from the managing position and go back to work. And you know, his boss was giving him a tough time. And I couldn't see it do it. So I was like, Dad, I knew we were at a birthday and I cut him another check. I said, here, this is yours. And he's like, I can't take this. I can't. I was like, no, I was like, the last one was supposed to get you to stop. This is like, you need to stop. Like, I got you. You need to stop.
Yeah.
And, that was, you know, almost as good as signing the contract, but that was right up there too. That was
that's special.
Again, one of those feelings where, you know, I trained my ass off as a young kid to get to this situation where I, you know, I had the funds to give back to the people that did everything for me.
That's special. Like to be able to do that. It's very special. But I understand also you're on your dad's part. Like for some people, like retirement is so scary. My dad is 70 now. He works 12 hours a day. And I'm like, my biggest fear is the day he's going to retire. I was like, what is he going to do? And, and my dad is just like your dad, but the opposite. He's like a PhD type of guy who's like studied all his life. And I'm like, I understand when all you have is work. Like, what do you do afterwards? And probably something you're going to face when hockey's going to come to an end for you. You're going to go, okay, now what? And so it's like,
for sure. I think it's tough for anybody, right? When you get in, like, you just get comfortable in your routine of what you do.
Exactly.
And it's scary to do something different, especially when you've done it for so long. But, you know, he's enjoying himself now. He's cutting lawns and he looks after a couple of my properties and does some stuff. So
that's great.
He's enjoying himself big time.
That's great. The only way to get an old man's heart, a car. That's just classic. Like, I'm going to get you with the car. And he's like, oh, Josh, you know me too well.
Yeah, exactly.
I even
that was the best way.
I completely. And I even wondered if you were named Dale because of Dale Howardchuk growing up in Winnipeg. Was that a reason?
Winnipeg, very famous Winnipeg guy. I can't remember. My middle name's Kenton, and they wanted to name me Kenton. I don't know, it might have been a football player or something that my mom and dad liked, but they didn't want people calling me Kenny and Kent and stuff, so they just put in my middle name. I don't know why. That's what they told me.
Such a classic name, Dale. Like, it's just classic, like prairies.
It's good. I like it, man. It's unique. I like it.
Yeah. You talked about like coming in in New York when you got drafted there, like as a 20-year-old, 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And you played in the A, and I noticed that you rode the bus with maybe one of the most infamous AHLers, meaning like he was maybe the best paid AHLer at the time. And you know who I'm talking about, but Wade Redden was riding the bus for $6 million a year at the time, and it was a big thing at the time. People were like, oh, can you believe he used to be on the Olympic team and now he's like, what was the mood with, I mean, for him, for you guys, with him on the team? Like, how did that go?
Man, he was absolutely incredible to us. He was amazing. Like, and I did it where, you know, I played in the NHL for 10 years and went back to the minors making half of what he was making there. And I hated it. I was miserable every day. I couldn't do it. So I had so much respect for him then when he was doing it. Then when I had to do it, it blew my respect out of the water. He would, you know, and you're on your rookie contract, and we had a really young team there. You know, every 2 weeks you're making, you know, some of the higher guys are making $3,000, like $3,500 every 2 weeks. Like those were big checks. And he was putting money on the board. You know, for people that don't understand, it's like we play at home and you really want to win. guy's got his girlfriend in town, you put $500 that goes toward a team party. Or, if you're playing your old team, you put money on the board that goes toward the team party if you win. And this guy was putting like iPad for the game winner, iPad for the game assist, most hits, $1,000.
Wow.
To the team, 3,000. He would take the team out for dinner, every 2 weeks. Like, he was just the best guy, man. There was no, like, every single day he came to the rink, he was happy. He was laughing. He was happy to share his knowledge with the boys. He was good for us too. Like, he played on the first power play with me. Like, he was really good for our team. But I cannot say enough good things about the type of person he was. And I truly learned a lot from him. I only played, I think, 40, 45 games that year that I was with him, but I learned so much from him on just how to be a good pro, like taking care of your body and stuff like that. And it was just, man, it was a lot of fun to play with him. Great
story. I didn't know that. I was wondering, like, could he like be bitter or stuff? And he was the exact opposite.
He wasn't bitter, like, not one day. And I was like, you're just waiting one day. Like, but at that point it was different because my mindset was different. I'm a young kid, and here's this guy making $6.5 million. And I'm like, well, no wonder. How could you be pissed off when he's making 6.5?
Right.
But then when I started, making 2 and 3 million, and it's like, the money doesn't matter. If you're not where you want to be and hockey's struggling, like, it doesn't matter if you're making 50 grand or 3 million. It really doesn't matter. That was something I learned as I went along. But as a young kid, I was like, well, of course he's happy. But then when I realized it, I was like, wow, that's really impressive, the attitude that he had the whole time.
I got the same feeling, and best because you play with him. I didn't, but when I got to walk in Laval's dressing room, and Karl Alzner, the guy seemed to always have a goddamn smile on his face, and I was like, he seems pretty happy. Like, he seemed to have a great attitude all the time. Am I right? Or
man, that's actually a perfect comparison. That is the most perfect comparison you could ever make. He kept me in a good mood down there. We hung out on the road, and we sat in the back of the bus together and stuff. Because again, I was just so impressed with his attitude and his mindset. He never had a bad day. He was always happy. Lots of times me and him were driving from, Bursard to Laval in the mornings, and, stuck in traffic for an hour and a half, hour 40. And I'm furious. I'm miserable. And he gets out with his coffee, and he's smiling, and he's just having a great day, man. And immediately I knew I had to turn my attitude around when I saw him. So he was outstanding, man. You had a good read on that one.
True professional, Karl. We'll get back to Laval later on, but you being in New York, you got a first taste of John Tortorella, the one and only Torts. Tell me about the character, that guy.
Man, it was awful as a young guy. It was terrible. He just kept everybody on edge. And then now, I'm already kind of like a shy kid. I'm going onto this team. I just got called up, and in 2010 when I got called up, it was still kind of the era where, like, if you're a rookie, like, you shut your mouth. You don't say anything to anybody. Veterans don't really talk to you. You shut up, you do your work. And that's kind of the way it was. And on top, you don't want to step on anybody's toes. You don't want to do anything to make anybody uncomfortable. You're sitting there, you're not really talking to anybody. You got this coach calling you out, embarrassing in front of everybody. And it's like screaming at you in practice. It's like, you're just so on edge and uncomfortable. And it's like, this is ridiculous, man. And, it was just tough. And I kind of got used to it a little bit after a while. And then I called him out one time, when he cut me, and he loved it. That was when we kind of had a breakthrough.
Really?
Where he was cutting me, and I was like, I think you're making the wrong decision, man. Like, I'm better than this guy, this guy, this guy. And I pointed out 3 guys on his team that I told him I was better than. And he's like, well, you didn't fight in training camp. I said, okay. If that's all it took, you should have told me that, man. Like, if you watch my game, I got no problem doing that. So I got cut, and it was 1 exhibition game left or 2 exhibition games left, 4 days later. So I literally went down to Hartford, 2-hour drive. 2 days later, there's a game in Ottawa. I guess somebody got hurt. So okay, we need one more guy to come play the last exhibition game. So it calls me up. Not really a call up, but whatever. And I got in a fight 2-3 minutes in the game. Like, I was like, okay, I'm back. You want to see me fight? We'll fight. So 2 minutes in the game, like, I don't know what it was. I think it was Spezza. Like, I went to hit Spezza in front of their bench in Ottawa, and I kept cross-checking him, and I was like, okay, there's Matt Karkner, Nick Foligno. I was like, okay, somebody's coming here. This is not going to be good. So I ended up fighting Foligno, and then I went to the penalty box, finished the period. I come in the first period, and he comes in just like he's screaming, tapping me on the leg. He's just loving it. Like, he was so fired up. And then from then I got called up and down a couple more times, and he loved it, man. We were good from then on. And
when you got traded to Vancouver, it was Vigneault when you got there, but then Torts ended up being hired by Vancouver. What was your reaction when he got hired in Vancouver?
To be honest, I was shocked. It was just, he was the farthest style from what that team needed. And not like the GM was going to come ask me about it or need my approval, but like, if I was in the GM's position, I would ask players that had experience with him, like, hey, like, tell me what you think. Like, I could have made a very, very easy decision for Mike Gillis and been like, this guy is a horrible fit for this team. Like, we had the Sedins, Kevin Bieksa, Ryan Kessler, Manny Malhotra, Alex Burrows. I don't know if I said Bieksa. Like, we had an older, experienced team. Sammy Salo, like, very older, experienced team. You didn't need to come raw. The room kind of controlled itself there. The leaders were so good. And that's what Vigneault was awesome at. Like, he would come in and show some video from time to time, but he kind of let the room run the way, my first year there, we won the President's Trophy. We lost LA in the first round. Terrible matchup. They went on to win the Stanley Cup, but we were the best team in the league by far. We were crushing teams. Second year, we won our division. I think we were third in the NHL. Bad matchup. We played San Jose. And then third year, Torts comes in and like, it didn't make sense to me, man. He comes in, he's calling out the Sedins, he's calling out Bieksa. Bieksa's giving it back to him in the locker room. They're telling each other to fuck off. He's calling out Kessler. Kessler's giving it back to him. I'm just like, what is going? This is the furthest thing from our team the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And we got off to a good start the first maybe month and a half. Kessler and the Sedins were playing like 27 minutes a night. He was playing one line. And then just went like this after that. Like, the team just tanked. It was just a horrible fit. I'm pretty sure he got fired at the end of the year. Like, just not a good fit. And then he went back to Willie Desjardins, who's like a very personable, nice coach. So it's like, man, Mike, I could have saved you your job, man. You should have just asked me.
Yeah. It did not work out very well for him with that style of play. Is he like, could we say like, is he better? I was going to say like, he's like when he's got young guys, he can like have a hand over them. Whereas,
you can intimidate them a little bit. Like, but again, it's tough. Like, as a young guy, I couldn't handle it. Not that I couldn't handle it. I struggled with it. I could have got used to it if I stayed the whole year. But after 3 years in the NHL, I was fine with that. I knew I was an NHL player. What could he do to me? You yell at me, do all you want. I'm not getting sent down, so whatever. But as you have young guys, you can intimidate them a little bit. You can keep them on edge. You can kind of hold the power over them a little bit where, what are you really going to tell Henrik and Daniel Sedin?
Yeah.
What are you going to tell them? Like, they're going to tell you to fuck off and you're going to get fired before them. Like, that's what happened. So it was just not a good situation.
We'd have to ask Pierre-Luc Dubois in Columbus. That didn't end too well also. And anyway.
No, it didn't. I mean, what a bad situation. I mean, Columbus, like, you've had so many good players and you had such a good team and you're just losing everybody. I don't know if that's the city, but I think he had a big, a big play in that.
Yeah. When the lockout came, you kind of went off the map here because guys were going to Switzerland and the major European leagues, and you ended up in the Netherlands, where you play like not too far from Amsterdam, and that's where you got your infamous nickname that I'll let you say and explain. How did that happen?
The Dutch Gretzky, man.
The Dutch Gretzky.
Let's go. So again, kind of like what we talked about earlier, where these like the good leagues in Switzerland and all these places were like, he's a fighter. We don't want him here. He won't be any good here. It's like,
right.
Hold on a second. I had 20 goals in 40 games last year in the American League, which is 10 times better in your league. I had 30 the year before as a 21-year-old. Anyways, it was man, it just that. So I was like, okay, you know what? I told my agent, I'll go anywhere. Like, I was at home. I went to Vancouver for 3 weeks, first 3 weeks of September. And then I didn't pay attention as a young guy to the lockout. I was like, whatever. Like, you know, I just played my first year in the NHL. There's not going to be a lockout. I got another one way. Like, I'm fine. I didn't pay attention. And then I went there and I started talking to the guys and Manny Malhotra and stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is actually serious. I don't think we're going to play. So 3 weeks, I left. I went home and there wasn't many guys in Winnipeg training. I was at the lake, hanging out with my like newly girlfriend. That's my wife now. So I was kind of just enjoying life, man. I was like, this is great. But I was like, I got to play. I got to play. I'm still young. I can't sit at home for 3 months, maybe miss a whole year. I can't do that. I'm too young. So I called my agent. I said, hey, get me on a plane tomorrow. I'll go play anywhere. He literally called me back in like 2 hours. I got a spot in Holland. I was like, okay, perfect. I'm in. Let's go. Hopped on a plane the next day, and my wife came with me, and we were off, man. It was just, what a cool experience.
And who came up with the nickname?
So what happened actually was, so I did pretty well there. Obviously, you know, I would say that league is, I would say it's a shade below the East Coast League for talent level. I would say good East Coast League guys would probably go rip it up there. I would think. So that's where the talent would be. So I came back to Vancouver, and again, my first year in Vancouver, I was playing 5-6 minutes a night. I was fighting as much as I could. I carved out a niche on that team. That's what they needed. They went to the Stanley Cup the year before. They got bullied by Boston. They wanted someone that could, you know, play, but also be physical. So that's what I did. And the Vancouver media was like, this guy's awful. He's a fighter. He's a joke. So they made it kind of a joke of it. They're like, oh, he's the Dutch Gretzky over there, but he can't do anything here. Like, so it was kind of like, it was negative and derogatory. So I hated it.
Right.
And I called out the media all the time in Vancouver for it. But then when I came to Montreal, it was like a positive. Like, they loved it. It wasn't meant to be like a derogatory term. Yeah. It wasn't meant to like shoot me down. So when the transfer went from Vancouver to Montreal, then it was, you know, something that I kind of, I took some pride in.
That's cool that it got turned into like a positive in Montreal where people actually loved you. Like, yeah, no, we actually like that guy. Ouh, on revient à Dale dans un tout petit instant. Je veux juste vous rappeler, parce que peut-être que vous vous dites, mon Dieu, mais j'aime ça les épisodes de Drette sur le tape, mais j'en veux plus maintenant. Je veux être éligible à des concours, je veux savoir tout d'avance. Nanana. Ben, c'est pas très compliqué, ça se passe sur notre Patreon. Ouais, patreon.com/Drette sur le tape. Vous avez les 2 prochains épisodes qui sont déjà là. Vous avez aussi, quand vient le temps du draft, le document de Chucky. Vous pouvez poser des questions directement à Chucky. Mais toute l'année, on va faire tirer aussi des affaires sur le Patreon, des cadeaux, du gear signé, du gear de Drette sur le tape. Il y a même une pièce de vêtements Drette sur le tape, édition limitée qui s'en vient. J'ai très hâte de vous la présenter. Et elle va être d'abord en pré-vente, en exclusivité sur le Patreon. Donc, c'est vraiment votre chance si vous voulez mettre la main sur cette belle pièce de collection. Et surtout, si vous voulez être un membre de l'équipe de Drette sur le tape, c'est-à-dire contribuer à... c'est quoi le terme? La pérennité. Voilà. On n'a pas beaucoup de vocabulaire de ce projet qui est Drette sur le tape. Ça se passe au patreon.com/Drette sur le tape. Venez nous rejoindre. Venez dans l'équipe Drette sur le tape sur notre Patreon. Allez, on retourne à l'épisode. Did I read, I might be wrong, but did I read somewhere your now wife was actually like a hockey player? Or
yeah, so she played over there too. They had the men's team and the women's team. So she played on the women's team too when we were there, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, not a lot of hockey players' wife are actually hockey players themselves.
Yeah, I don't know very many. I don't think many of them could skate. I know Montreal has their wives go play a little bit, but it's pretty funny. I've never actually seen them skate, so I don't want to comment on if they can or not, but I think they probably struggle a little bit.
And like being like an hour away from Amsterdam, was everyone like always smoking weed? Like was that like
like it was like, you know, like Canada now essentially, but more open where the coffee shops and everything are everywhere and bakeries and everything. So it was a cool experience, man.
Did guys play high?
I don't think they were playing high. Not that I know of. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it was they were pretty progressive over there. So it was
yeah, Amsterdam. Yeah, and before he came over here. Yeah. Anyway, you finally get traded to Montreal in the Rafael Diaz trade, if I recall. which might be the best thing that ever happened to you. Why, after like so many years in the NHL and like grinding your way up, why did, for some reason, everything come together in Montreal and you finally like unleashed?
Yeah, it was all opportunity, man. All opportunity. Like I said, in Vancouver for the better parts of 3 years, I didn't leave off the fourth line. I never got a chance to do anything more than go dump the puck and don't get scored on, or try to fight, provide some energy, play 6 minutes, and that was fine because I did what I had to do to get my foot in the door in the NHL. But I always knew I could do more. I never played that role anywhere in my life. Like in the American League, I scored. I was on the first line. Man, I was a really, really, at 21, like I said, when I had 30 goals, there wasn't a guy 21 and younger that had more points than me or more goals in the whole American Hockey League. Mm-hmm. Like, at 22, I had 20 goals in 40 games. Like, I put up good numbers. I can play. It was just getting that opportunity where I came to Montreal. I had great line mates.
Who were they?
When I first came there, I played with Moen and Prusty a little bit, Bourneval, Danny B. I played with Ryan White a little bit. So I had great line mates. No disrespect to the guys that I played with in Vancouver, but I played with better guys in Montreal, which obviously helps. And then our role was bigger. We played a ton. You look at when we got to the playoffs, against Tampa, me, Bourneval, and Danny Briere started. And Michel Therrien was before the series like, you guys are going to play a lot. We're going to use you a lot. Be ready. And it was nice to finally be counted on. And then you look at the progression. I come back the next year and, I was like third, fourth line. But very early, I was getting chances. I was playing, whenever Parento would struggle, he'd go down the fourth line. I'd come up on the first line with Pacioretty and Desharnais.
Oh, my God.
And it produced. Every time I went up, it worked. So it just kept happening. Guys have bad games. Boom. I'm playing well. You give me an opportunity, or I start with them and I play well. And, I just playing with good guys and getting the opportunity. That's all you need sometimes. Like I said, there's so many good NHL players that have careers on the third, fourth lines that could be top 6 guys with the right opportunity.
How was it playing with Danny B? He came on the podcast too. The guy had a huge career.
Man. Legend. It was so cool.
Like
cool to play with him.
He was towards the end of his career, but still he still had the IQ. He still had some skills in him. Like playing with him was like one of.
He was so good, man. He was so good. The one line that I always took with me from that moment is, I was sitting there and we played really well in game 1 against Tampa. And I remember this, and our line was playing well. We were creating chances, but we didn't play a lot in the third period. We played like 2 shifts. And I'm sitting there and he could tell I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, fuck, our line's playing good, man. Like, we got to get out here. We can score the winner. It's tie game. Like, we can score the winner. And he was like, just be patient. Be patient. They're going to need us in overtime. They're going to need us. So save your energy. Don't get excited. And I said, okay. I was like, geez, if Danny B is saying this to me, I better just relax here and get ready. And then sure enough, we go in overtime. He sets me up. We score the winner. So it was a pretty cool moment. And, definitely one I never forget.
That 2014 run was just incredible that year. I know things came together for some reason. Like, what was the magic? Like, what happened that year? Because you don't go to the conference final every year. There's so many elements that need to just stick. And Thomas Vanek coming in at the deadline for a second, and a prospect like, oh God, that happened, cool. And Danny B and you came in and Kerry was on his game. Like, what happened that year? What was the magic?
Yeah, I knew when I got there that we had a really good team, and the team knew that. Like, we talked about a lot. We're like, if we can get on a run here and we can get healthy, there's a lot of guys out. I know when I got there was lots of injuries. And then even going into the first round of the playoffs, guys were kind of everywhere. We had different line combinations. But I knew there was something special about our team, and obviously having Carey Price in net, if you got in, you had a chance. And man, we just caught lightning in a bottle. I don't think anybody expected us to beat Tampa. And we won one game, and we had contributions from everybody. We had good, pretty good contributions throughout our lineup. We win game 2. We're like, how are we up 2-0 right now? Who's expecting this? And we come out in game 3, and game 3 to me, I don't know if I've ever heard a building that loud in my life. Like Jeanette Renault comes out and like Danny B's like telling me about her, and the building is like just electric. And then, you know, Renee Bork scores 7 seconds. Like the building was just insane. Like I haven't heard that building that loud in my life. I haven't heard any building. And it was just like, okay, we're not losing this game. We go on to win that one. And then at 3-0, you know, it's over. You win. And then once we won that series, you know, everyone's like, okay, there's no way they're beating Boston. Boston's the best team in the league, 117 points. But we had so much confidence in our room. We're like, man, we're going to beat Boston for sure. And we come out, we steal game 1. You know, and as the series goes on, there was never any doubt that we were going to win that series. It was like we had so much confidence in our group, and it just from everybody, like Gian to George's, like, you know, just really, really good leaders, and you know, Danny B obviously with his experience.
You drove Lucic crazy in that series.
Oh man, their whole team. I just had their team so wound up. They wanted to fight so bad. Sean Thornton and Milan Lucic wanted to fight so bad, and I just wouldn't give it to them. And they couldn't, and McQuaid too, and who's the other guy in D? They had lots of guys that were just so mad just because I wouldn't fight them, and I was like finishing a check every time I'm hitting, boom, little hack, and like they were getting so mad. And Sean Thornton was just, man, I could just look at them in warm up, and they were so wound up, and I would just stare at them and laugh, and oh man, and then we were scoring too. Like our fourth line was out, like, you know, it was Thornton, Paille, and Gregory Campbell, and it was like that was considered the best fourth line in the NHL, and our line was dominating them.
Yeah,
and you know, that was a big story in that series.
That's one of the only times I've ever seen someone in the lineup at the end of the shake. How would you call it? The line.
Yeah, the handshake.
The handshake. When the series is over, like it's over now. Like you're going on to the next round. They're going on vacation, and he's just fucking yelling at you in the line, like and it was like, what's happening?
That's never happened. That'll never happen again too. Like you just don't see that. It just never happens.
And you just like, I think it's just recently on your podcast that you mentioned what he actually said to you.
Yeah,
he was.
It was, you know, he was. I think it was a combination of things. It was like they were expecting to win the Stanley Cup. They were expected to dominate us. They were expected to bully us, and just none of that happened. And he just probably never expected. And then the fact that I was scoring 2 in this series, and it got made a big thing too, and it blew up with him, and it was just crazy, man. I think I would love to see him now. We could have such a good laugh about it, me and him, and it would be pretty funny. We could have some beers together and joke about it for sure, because it'd be pretty funny.
Did you guys have ever talked since, or
never?
Really?
We haven't talked since. No.
Oh, that's funny.
No, but I think we could have some beers and laugh about it now.
It's all in the past. You got to the conference final against the Rangers, and everyone, at least in the city here, we believed we had a chance. You know, like Carey was so hot, and then Chris Kreider decided otherwise. Do you still think about that and like, oh, what if? You know,
I like, I'm the most positive, forward-thinking person in the world, and I hate to live with regrets and what ifs. I just don't allow myself to do it. But that is the only thing in my life that I will constantly lose sleep over, and always go like, man, if Carey doesn't get hurt there, we win the Stanley Cup. I'm sorry, like, you know, we lost Game 6 to New York. It was a 1-0, maybe 2-0 with an empty netter. Like, we're not losing that series. If Carey's in net, that's probably over in 5 games. Like, I liked the matchup against New York for us. There was no way they were beating us. And then, you know, you get in the final. LA was a great team. But I truly believe the way we were playing, and New York gave them all they could handle. I truly believe that we would have beat them. We would have been Stanley Cup champions. I would have signed a 100-year extension, and I would have never left.
And bought many trucks to your dad, like until the end of time.
For sure.
Thomas Vanek was always very intriguing to me, because he's like, the guy was so talented, like effortlessly, but he had this like careless way of playing, like, yeah, whatever, just like, I'm just very good at hockey, but I don't really care. But like, he had this like careless demeanor. Like, how was it playing with that guy?
Yeah, so I was a huge Thomas Vanek fan growing up, so it was kind of cool. He was one of the guys that I really liked when I was like 13, 14, 15, and he was just coming in the NHL. Like, I loved it. I thought he was awesome, man. The way he could score, his slappers, his around the world shootout moves and stuff. I loved it. So playing with him was really cool. He came on that line, and I'm trying to think, who would have been in there like before he got there. And they knew they had to get a winger for Davey and Patch. And when he came in, that line was electric. Like they were over a point a game for the last 20 games. I want to say every guy on that line had about 30 points the last 20 games. So the line was incredible in the regular season. And I think everybody forgets that because you watch him in the playoffs and, the playoffs, it didn't go for him. He didn't get off to a good start. And then, Michelle was moving him down the lineup. I know times I was taking his shift against Boston and stuff. And it was tough, man. He didn't take it the right way. And that's difficult when, I don't know. He was such a good guy and such a good player, man. It was difficult. It was tough to watch as a teammate because, he could have brought so much to us in the playoffs. Like when he came on that line in the regular season, he was lights out. He was so good.
I think his first game against Colorado, he got a hat trick. I'm like something like that.
Probably. He had a couple, I think, down the stretch. He was unreal.
Yeah, he was very, very good. In that run, of course, like PK was a huge part of it. Like he was electric. A lot of teammates have come out and they were not like big fan of PK as a teammate. What was your relationship to PK and what did you think of him as a teammate?
Yeah, I loved PK. Me and PK are still, best friends to this day. We talk all the time. We joke all the time. I honestly don't understand what guys didn't like about him. I honestly don't understand it. I don't know. Like me and him are kind of the same. Like we have a lot of energy. We're always bubbly. We're always kind of laughing and happy in the room. We like to like build people up. We like to have some fun. I don't know. When it came time to work, PK was there. Like he practiced as hard as anybody. He worked out harder than anybody. He was always in the gym. So I don't know what guys' issues with. I don't know. Like I don't care what a guy does away from the rink, what he wants to do. He wants to be on social media. He wants to be on commercials. You want to do whatever the hell you want. Like, I don't care. That doesn't affect me. When you come to the rink and it's not affecting your game, I don't give a shit what you do away from the rink. And I think PK in his prime years was still in the era of the NHL where it was like, don't be on social media. Don't be a sideshow. Don't say too much in interviews. The old school NHL culture, which is still there, but it's kind of going away a little bit now. I feel like if PK Subban came into the league right now, the league, as a younger in his prime, man, the league would thrive with a guy like that. He would sell tickets. He still does. But you need guys. That's where the NHL drops the ball. They don't sell the game. Players don't sell themselves. PK Subban sells tickets. He sells shirts. He puts people in the stands, regardless if you like him or not. And to me, I like him.
Do you feel like the guys thought he was bigger than the team?
Yeah, that one too. I don't understand. Like, if you're the best player on the team, you have to have some arrogance to you. Every guy that I've played with that's the best player on the team has a little bit of arrogance. They know they're the best player. And he was our best player. So I don't know. I just have a hard time what guys didn't like. I don't know what they didn't like. Like, the cameras come to him all the time. Like it's good. He's exciting. Like, I'm not envious of anybody. I'm not jealous of anybody. Maybe that's why I don't have any problems. Like, that's why I liked him. I don't know. I'm happy to see people succeed. I'm happy to see people, getting what they deserve and being happy for people doesn't take anything away from you. And I think people have a hard time with that.
Do you think he can bounce back and because he's had like a couple of rough seasons, but do you think PK still has it in him to?
I think he's still a very, very good NHL defenseman for sure. I think he can, like I said, he trains hard. He takes care of himself. He lives his life. He enjoys. Yes, he does, as much as anybody. But when it's time to work, he works. So, I think he's got a couple more good years in him for sure. I don't think he's 2014 PK Subban, but he's a really, really good NHL defenseman and can play a lot more years.
You wanted to stay in Montreal. You wanted to get a contract offer, which never happened at the time. And you ended up being traded to Chicago, which turned out to be a great trade for the Canadians because they got Dano, they got the pick who ended up being Romanov. But on your end, when you got to Chicago, like you were having a huge season in Montreal, this season of your like a career season, like half a point per game or something. It was just like incredible. Goals were just going in, and you get to Chicago, and for some reason it just doesn't like what happened in Chicago. What was your experience there?
Oh, man, I was back to square one again. You know, like you go from playing on the second power play unit in Montreal, and I was on the third line, and playing with good players. I was playing 14 to 16 minutes a night. I got on the penalty kill. Like I was playing a ton. I had a huge role in the team, and I went to Chicago. I couldn't skate for 2 weeks. I don't want to get into the long-ended story about visas and everything, but it took me 2 weeks to get there. And by the time I got there, I skated with the team for the first practice, and Joel Quenneville goes, "Yeah, I don't really know a lot about you, so sit the first game out, and we'll see if I can get you in there."
Right.
And I'm like, hold on a second here. I'm on pace for a 25 goal season, and I'm not going to play. Like, you just traded for me. We're making a push, and I'm going to sit in the stands. Like, what is happening here? Like, I was just told. And man, when I went in, I would play like, I played with two guys, and again, no disrespect. Anybody that plays in the NHL is a good player, but these were two guys that didn't play in the NHL the year before, and the year after that, they didn't play in the NHL. So they were not NHL talent players. So our line wasn't very good. We didn't play a lot. I would play like 6 minutes. They had high-end talent. They had two of the best lines in the NHL. They had Taves and Host on one line, and then Kane, Panarin, and Anisimov on one line. And then they had a checking line, the third line was Teravainen and Fleischmann. And, that's where I thought I was traded for to play. That's what I was told originally. But, either way, I didn't play a lot. I was, the last 20 games of the season, I played 16. I was scratched every 3 games. I'm out of the lineup. Start the playoffs. I didn't play the first 4 games. I come in for game 5. I score the winner. And the coach is like, "Oh, I should have used you." Like at the year-end meeting, Joel Quenneville was like, "Hey, I finally figured out what you can do at the end of the year. I should have used you, but I guess it's too late because you're unrestricted and you're probably not re-signing here." I was like, "Yeah, no shit." And then I met with Stan Bowman. Stan Bowman was like apologizing. He's like, "Man, I'm so sorry. I probably cost you some money, and I really didn't think it was going to go down like this." Like, I'd respect that he apologized, but it was just a horrible situation, man. Terrible setup.
Do you think you lost some money on your UFA contract because of Chicago?
Oh, I lost tons of money, man. I lost a lot. If I would have stayed in Montreal and kept playing, I easily could have, not easily, but I probably easily $1 million a year.
More?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's $4 million that you think you could have.
I would have been at 3.5, probably 3.5 a year.
Right. As a 25 goal scorer.
Yeah. I would have been over 20 for sure.
Yeah.
$3 million on the open market every day.
Right. You were with some, you mentioned them, a lot of very good players. Like you play with, like you saw Patrick Kane up front in practice, and Hossa was still there. Did you see were you aware of his skin condition at the time?
Yeah. So he had some you don't really pay too much attention to guys' bodies and stuff, but he had he had some sores and stuff on his legs and stuff that you would see, and he would take some days off from time to time, but I figured, he's older guy. This guy's played in the Stanley Cup final the last, seems like 10 years. So yeah, he's just probably taking some rest days. I didn't realize it was as bad as it was.
Oh, you guys didn't know he was about to retire?
No, I had no idea. Right. I had no idea. And he was still unreal. He could still play, man.
Yeah, he was still good. They call Taves, they dub him Captain Serious. His leadership, is it what we hear about it? Is he the leader?
He's incredible. He's absolutely incredible, man. He's so we're the same age. So we both grew up in Winnipeg playing against each other. So I knew him from we were 7 years old. So I played against him. I lost so many city finals to him, 7, 8, 9. We lost so many times to them in the finals. It was crazy. But I didn't know a lot about him. I hated him because I lost to him my whole life. And then finally, when I got a chance to play with him, man, I absolutely love the guy. He's everything everybody says and more. Everything about the way he leads, the type of person he is, man. He's as good as it gets. surefire Hall of Famer, man. He's
Yes.
unbelievable.
Very first ballot, very easily. You end up signing in Philly, of course, and you've talked about it, but was not again the greatest of fits, and you ended up being traded to Montreal. But I heard you say about your time in Philly that you thought there was a lack of leadership, and the word you used is accountability. What did you mean by that, and like what was happening in that locker room?
Yeah, so you look at the teams that I played on, Vancouver. I was spoiled with the amount of leaders that we had there and the type of guys that we had. You come to Montreal, you get a chance to play with, Brian Giunta, Danny Briere, Josh Georges, guys like that, just Travis Moen. The list goes on of just incredible leaders. Go to Chicago, I was only there for 3 months. That was all I needed to see, man. Like Taves and Seabrook and Keith, like these are like, the elite guys of our generation. And then, you go to Philly, and I could immediately see when I got there within weeks why this team was so talented and just never did anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was so obvious to see everything from just the way they went about doing things, man. And it was just obvious to see why they weren't successful, and they weren't going to be. It's just so many things, and it starts at your top, coaching, and then your top guys on the team gotta pull everybody in the right direction, and that's that there was a difference in accountability for guys here as opposed to the guys here, and that really separates a team very quickly.
Right. We're gonna get, because I want to talk about so much stuff with you. So we're gonna move on to Montreal. When you get traded back, I think you were rather happy with that coming back to the team where you had.
Oh, I was pumped.
Most
I was
success.
pumped because I was waiting for a trade in Philly, and
Yeah.
Chuck Fletcher for some reason sent me home. I couldn't even practice with the team. It was such a weird scenario.
Yeah.
Just one day he's like, "Hey, you're going to be traded," and I knew I was getting traded to Montreal. Like my agent already told me it was pretty much a done deal. So I was waiting for it to happen. And, it was like bye week, and then this week didn't happen. I don't know. Someone was injured. He's waiting for someone to get healthy. One of the guys in the deal had to get healthy for the trade to happen. So ended up going a couple weeks, and then eventually the trade happened. Obviously, I was ecstatic. To come back, to a general manager that believed in me, and in a place that I had a ton of success in.
Absolutely. And then you come back, and then you ended up, shuffle between Montreal and Laval, and that's when we first, I don't know if I can say met, we kind of came across.
Paths, yeah.
And I gotta talk about that because Joël Bouchard is one of the funniest characters, and funny not in the sense that he makes jokes, funny in the sense that he's got this gym, he's got some high school gym class teacher energy to him. It's just weird. And
there's nobody like him. He's one of a kind.
He's really one of a kind. And I remember going in, and I spoke with a few of the French guys. Alexandre Alain was there, and Bells. Absolutely. And he, and just talk with a few of the guys. And I would sometimes come in with a few ideas. We thought about doing this kid and that. And guys go, oh, all right, cool. Let's do it this way. And then they say, all right, we're going to introduce you to the guys. So I don't know if you probably don't remember that, but I remember so vividly. And we go into the video room. And then the guy who directs the videos is like, I'm going to go talk. And then he ends up being very nervous and not very comfortable in English. And he's like, David is a stand-up comedian. And then I see all you guys' heads turn this guy is a funny guy. And I'm like, all right. No one here knows me. Maybe a few French guys, but probably not. And then
put you on the spot. Hey?
Yeah. But the guy
was just giving you the John Tortorella vibe.
Yeah, but he was just so nervous. Actually, he was trying to do well. Hey, he's a stand-up comedian. They don't care. It's pretty obvious. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna help him out. He's drowning there. So I was like, hey, I'll pick it up. And I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm David. Just introducing myself. And I remember turning and seeing your face for some reason sticking out. With your you had this very good smile. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. You had this good attitude face. All right, for sure. And I go, hey, we're just going to be filming a few stuff. I might come up to you with some idea but feel free to say, I'm not going to make you dance or do silly stuff. I hate those videos. I would hate to be one of the players. There's going to be some skits, maybe some stuff, and I'm always the dumb one. Like the whole angle was me trying to be on the team, and of course I'm like the worst, and like I'm not a good player, and I'm just like that was the whole angle. And like I had a thing with Bell where I would like put his stuff away and put mine. He would come in and I'd be like, yeah, and I am taking your spot. And I wrote a poem to Alexander, like stupid stuff, you know. But I'm always the dumb one. Like I'm the silly guy, you know. And I go, yeah, I just want to like I know like hockey players are funny. Players are funny. Like they have a great sense of humor, and like it's always pranking around and jokers in the room. And so I tell the guys, yeah, we're gonna like just show the like I guess lighter side of you guys. And like I could see like Joel is getting like pumped up and like he can't wait for me to be done. And then he's like, all right, I'm just gonna add something about this. And then he starts like he's way too intense. Like
your impression is pretty good. Holy shit!
Like I'm doing videos for the web, for the rocket, like the Laval rocket, like let's like tone it down here. Like not that many people are going to see that. And he's like, all right, just wait a second here. All right. Like, and some of the young guys here, just hearing that, being fun. And he starts like,
man, you got to keep going. That's so good.
He's like, starts pounding, and he's like, I don't want to see any of you guys on the fucking, like, during a game on the Jumbotron doing some stupid stuff. Do not forget you represent the Canadians organization. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, what is this? Like, and I'm like, yeah, and I had this afterwards, like, yeah, like, by the way, I'm completely on board with that. Like, like, if you don't want to do anything, like, you just tell me, I don't care. Like, this is just for fun. Like, and he's like super serious. And like, there was this, like sort of skit, like a bit I had like thought of and kind of prepared where I would like try to have the coach on my side. Like I had bought some gifts for Joel that would be like, hey, you know, I might be in this team. And like, I'd bought a few items for him, like as a joke. And one of the items was like a touch of gray, you know, for the hair. Yeah. Cause he had like a touch of gray style. And I had like a few items like that. And like his DVD he did back in the day for like players in Quebec and stuff. And they were like, oh, like it's never going to happen. Like he's not going to do that. Like he doesn't do any of like nothing. And I was like, oh, can we do like instead something else? No. And then it was like, all right, so we had to turn it around. It was always like on the fly improv, like on the go, because we had like so little time. And it was like, all right, let's like do a thing where can we use his office? Like, and he's like, yeah, he can like put the gifts in his office. And we did some jokes like that while he was training. We had like his office for a few minutes. So I was like, all right, let's like do this quickly. And then I had put like a pictures of me like kissing his DVDs on his desk and like stuff like that, you know. And he comes in like sort of wet from the training, and he's like, all right, and we're like, and we had like, we were like, it was all right for us to be there because like the comm guy was there with us. He's like, yeah, just, and he comes in. And he's like, where's Charlie? And I'm like, what? And he's like, where's Charlie? And I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, we don't even know each other. It's like, I'm like Charlie Don? Like Charlie Don? He's like, no, like where's, and he's talking about Charlie Lindgren, that because it was the waivers day and he wanted to know if Charlie had cleared waivers and was on his way down. And I was like, oh, and I like, but just the way you. Yeah, it's like the way he came in, like I'm gonna install authority here, like, and people are gonna like. It's like, what are you talking? Like, what? Yeah. It's like, and like, how are you not laughing at acting this way? And I remember talking about some of the boys, like, this guy is hilarious. Like, how do you not laugh all the time? And he was like, oh, we do. And I was like, and I remember saying to a guy, that guy is a character, and he says, oh, that's how he is. That's actually how he is. I was like, yeah. Oh, and you guys don't laugh. Like you can keep a straight face. And he's like, oh, we laugh, but it's like he's always like that. And it was, to me, was hilarious. Like his whole.
Dude, I laughed my whole time there. Not like he'd be serious doing that stuff, and I would just be laughing. I was like, I can't take this guy serious,
like,
man.
He was used to Junior and like the whole like prep speech and stuff. But like,
yeah, you feel like you're watching like what is the French movie I used to watch in French? Les Boys. Like it's watching. And he would even say Les Boys sometimes. So it's like, holy fuck, man, how do I take this guy serious?
So you've talked about him. Like, tell me about like, cause you like there was like sort of a myth around him, like, oh, this guy's the ultimate coach to develop talent. But
yeah, I don't get it, man. There was, as for like a hockey standpoint, is like to say he's like teaching and developing. I don't know where that was coming from. And then from a personal standpoint, I just wouldn't want this guy around my prospects. It's not how you treat people. I don't care if you're old school or how you want to do things, but that's just not how you treat people. Calling, embarrassing guys in front, like that's like at least 10 years ago. You do that.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that now. That doesn't work with guys. And he had a really good way of putting on this act where like, a couple of where I was hurt and I'm watching the intermissions on the Jumbotron and, he's giving these interviews like he's like your dad, like he's this nice guy that like really cares about the guys and he's there for them. And it's like, well, I certainly don't see this guy. I don't know who this guy is on the Jumbotron because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and do you think like regarding Ryan Paling's path, like did it slow him down, like because he had like this whole year?
I think he definitely didn't help. He definitely didn't help him. It was an adjustment for Pales coming down. I think, I've talked about it on my podcast a little bit where, he was riding obviously that big year.
Yeah.
And he comes into training camp, boom, he gets sent down. Okay, whatever. He's not playing great. He was okay to start the year. And then you call him up and then he sits on the bench for 3 weeks, not playing.
Yeah.
And then you send him down and then he's not playing. And you got to get called up to the NHL when you're playing well and you're feeling confident. And then put him in a situation where you're going to succeed. Don't sit him on the fourth line where he's not going to play it as a 20-year-old kid. Like that doesn't do anything for anybody. So they mishandled that one a little bit, I think, as an organization. Joel definitely didn't help the kid, with his antics and stuff. But, he worked his way through, obviously had a great year this year. And I can't wait to see what he does for Montreal this year.
Did the way Joel talked to the young guys versus the veterans, was it different? Like, was he like intimidating with the young guys and like kind of had to respect guys like you at the same time?
Yeah, he was like, I wouldn't say he treated me poorly. I didn't like some of the things that he did. I didn't agree with, some of his decisions with me, but I wouldn't say he treated me poorly, but the way he was treating younger guys, I just didn't agree with. I don't think that's the best way to get the most out of people. And I don't think it's just such an old school way of doing things. I went through that and I know what it does to people. And I don't think that young kids should go through that. And
the whole like, oh, but he's an X's and O's type of guy was also like,
I don't know where that one came from. I really don't know where that one came from. I heard all the myths in Quebec. Like it blew my mind when I heard some of these.
Tell me about like the practice what was it like the practices that like you said like the other teams were like kind of laughing at you guys?
Man, morning skates, we would be doing stops and starts at the end of practice. We do stops and starts. Everybody line up on the blue line and he would call out numbers like red line, twice, blue line, like morning skates. Only I've ever seen that. Like other teams are sitting there like, I don't know if he thought it was like old school, like the other teams are watching, they're like, fuck, these guys are prepared, they're ready to play. But really it was just ridiculous. It was like, what are we doing? Like you don't stops and starts in a morning skate, man. Come on.
It's very like miracle
type. We would do these drills, these shooting drills. I don't know if this was his skill drill where like, man, he would be, you just skate down the middle, like 2 lines on the blue line. You skate down the middle of the ice. There's no goalie. He just passes you the puck and you just shoot it. And you just keep doing this. This was a drill we do all the time. Then we did this one drill. It was so ridiculous. We did it every single day. And he would chip the puck in the corner and you would just go like close it out in the wall. And guys were so sick of doing the drill that guys would just do it half-assed. You would just let the guy close you out and take the puck. So it would be over quicker. Like, and he couldn't see that. And we would do it every single day. It was so ridiculous.
It sounds like it really sounds like a high school type of coach. Like really, like the whole like closing out and the very over.
There's a lot of things, man. That just and again, maybe because I was in the NHL so long, that's how the American League was doing things now. But I don't know. I didn't agree with some of the things.
Did you sometimes think like to yourself, like I have way more NHL games than you? I guess
no, I don't. You know what? I don't look at it. I never looked at it that way. I never like. I haven't played for a coach that, played more games than I did, but like,
yeah,
I respect coaches. I don't ever have that attitude towards them, but, when you disrespect me, like, I'm not going to respect you. And I'll let you know about that. Like, and then I just,
would he like call you out in front of the boys? That's what, stuff like that.
I don't know, like maybe a couple times, but I got no problem with that. That's fine. Like, I'm an older guy. I played in the NHL for a while. Like, you want to set an example? Like, I'm okay with that. That's fine as an older guy. As a 20-year-old guy, don't embarrass him in front of everybody. Like, take him aside. Yeah. Have some personal skills and talk to him. As an older guy, that's fine. You do that. But like, I don't know. One time, man, he was. I don't know what the deal was. Like, he was screaming at me on the bench one time, and I just turned around. I was like, "All right, enough." Like, I just told him, like, relax, enough. Like, he was just nonstop chirping in my ear. I was like, enough, shut up.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'll fix you. I'm going to fix you. And he kept chirping at me for the rest of the game.
Jesus.
And I didn't even say anything back. And he just kept chirping at me. I'll fix you. I'm going to call Montreal. You're done. You're finished. I'll ruin your career. And I'm like,
Jesus.
What is wrong? Like, okay, man, relax. Go for it. Go for it.
That was a coach.
Yeah. And then, like, he scratches me the next day, and I was like, he's like, has this conversation with me and tells me, he's like, you're done. You're finished as a player.
Jeez.
You're done. I don't see it. You're done. I was like, okay.
I thought coaches.
You want to scratch me? Go for it, man. Like, go for it.
I thought coaches were supposed to help players, but that's just a different way to look at it. Anywho, speaking of coaches, when Claude Julien got let go by Montreal, I think you tweeted out something like, the Habs are going to take less too many man penalties, and I wanted you to light me up on this one, because like, I think the way he rolled the lines or something was like unclear.
Yeah, he just never called who was up. I've never seen that before. That was really unique. That was something I had to get used to when I got there, because you never know. There's just chaos on the bench at all times. You never know who's going, who's playing. You just never know. I've never seen that before, where a coach doesn't call the lines out.
So how'd you know when you had to go?
Well, you just kind of, the lines kept rolling, but here's the thing: the lines keep rolling, but he had his matchups in his head that he wanted, but he would never tell anyone what the matchups were.
Right.
And then he didn't want the matchup sometimes, but then he did, but he wouldn't say anything. So it was just a guessing game all the time, man. But then, like, when you do hop out there, he's screaming at you to get off, and it's like, well, fuck, someone had to go play. Like, we're shorthanded, man.
Yeah.
So that was weird, man. But I guess he did that in Boston too, and I guess, they won the Stanley Cup, so he felt good about it.
Claude looks like such a shy type of guy. Like, was he like, did he command like respect, or did people, because he's won the cup and stuff and all, but
for sure. Yeah. I think he commands respect. Like, he coached for a long time. He had a lot of success. So I think, when you have the resume that he did, I think he commanded respect.
Yeah.
I think in order to, you can command respect and be respected, I think, are two different things.
Right.
I think you got to show some respect to be respected. And I don't think Claude Julien is a bad person. I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think the times kind of moved past him a little bit,
right,
in the coaching standpoint, where, again, I don't know if he's the best for young guys, not a lot of communication. And I don't know. There wasn't a lot of communication. I think, with the young guys now, I think, you got to, there's more pats on the back with younger guys now than the old school where you're screaming at guys,
That couldn't be a better transition for one of the last things I wanted to talk to you about before letting you go. But the KK situation, to me, I was really disappointed with how this turned out. I was really shocked. I know like 6.1 was messing up with Bergevin's structure and all, but I loved KK. I was a huge fan from the get-go. We had him top 3, top 4 the year of his draft, and I was like, we're going to watch this guy develop for a decade. It's going to be awesome. And then it was like the offer sheet, like, of course, blah, blah, the Carolina thing. But you've played with KK in Laval. You've played with him in Montreal. What was your whole take on this whole thing? And KK as a player too, because I feel like there was not a lot of communication with him, and that kind of soured the relationship. Anyway, yeah,
I think he was left in the dark a lot, and I don't think it's very like, you know, he comes in and yeah, he was awesome as a rookie in that training camp when he was 18, and then he makes the team. And I don't think that was the wrong decision. I thought he had a great rookie year. For an 18-year-old in the NHL, he had a great rookie year.
Yeah. 30
yeah,
points.
There's some growing pains, obviously. You know, consistency. He wasn't the biggest and strongest kid, but he's 18 years old. You know, look at the numbers he put up. What do you have? Like 30-something points, 40 points? Like, he had an incredible rookie year at 18. And I've said it on my pod a ton. Like, I'm such a KK believer. The way he shoots the puck, there's so very few guys that can shoot the puck in the whole league the way he can. And I truly mean that. Like,
and he's seen as a playmaker. Can you imagine?
I know. But when this guy just, you know, in a couple of years, when he believes in himself enough, he's a young, kind of insecure kid.
Right.
And he doesn't believe in himself enough. And you can see when he scores and he starts to get confidence, he's a dangerous player. And, you know, when I saw KK February 2020, obviously went down to the minors there. I missed him a little bit when I got called back up and played with Montreal. But then when he comes in the bubble and I see him and he scores, he didn't play. Oh, he was okay in the first game against Pittsburgh. He scores though. Second game, he starts to play good, play really good, scores again. Yeah. And then, you know, Pittsburgh series is unreal. And then Philly series, he was great. Like, he was unbelievable in the bubble. And I think people forget how well he played. He was consistent every single game. Him and Susie were our best players against Philly. Hands down every night. They were dominating. You're like, wow, like this could be the 1-2 center for Montreal for the next 10 years. Like, finally, they have two elite young centers. And then he came back and obviously, you know, kind of up and down and stuff. But like, I just don't think they handled him well with the scratchings. And like, I don't care how poor you're playing. You don't scratch that guy. That doesn't benefit that guy. That to me is like, you sit a guy out when, you know, it's like a fourth line guy and you're trying to change the lineup. You take a guy out. That's easy to do. Or, you know, you need more from like a third or fourth line guy. You sit him out. Right. That's going to light a fire under him. That doesn't light a fire under skilled, like, you know, skilled young guys. That's just like, you just piss them off. Right. It's not the way to motivate them. You embarrass them that way. You know, and there's two sides that where people are like, well, maybe they need that. And it's like, you know, you got to understand the personality. And me, from meeting KK for 5 minutes, can tell you that that's not his personality. Right. And that's not the best way to motivate that kid. And, you know, it's really unfortunate that it got to this point. I thought they were going to match it, but I don't think it should have got to the point where there was an offer sheet. That the deal should have been done 2.5, whatever it would have been. Yeah. That deal should have been done a long time ago. They
kept, you know, when they didn't match and then they went out and get Dvorak, they said that maybe KK was not very open to criticism. And did you feel that was the case, that he was maybe reluctant with what was asked of him?
Yeah, I saw that a lot, and I would love to hear like just a little more explanation on that. Like, you know, I don't think any 20-year-old kid is going to continue to like being shit on all the time and told that you're no good. Like, eventually at some point you're going to have some pushback. And I think that's what's going to make him a good player, is he has that pushback where he's like, you know, I know I'm good. He doesn't quite know how good he can be yet. Right. But when he does, he's going to be dangerous. And I think he's got that fire now. And obviously a little chip on his shoulder where a team didn't believe in him enough, and even publicly to come out and say you're not worth this money, that's got to light a fire under you. Yeah.
Do you feel like the Canadians, they really have a style of play in mind, you know? Like I had this Arpin Bess, who's a journalist who came on the podcast, and I think he's close with KK. Well, anyway, and he said this, KK kind of let out a joke once where KK said something and Arpin says, "Oh, you really sound like a veteran in this league." And KK said, "Oh, I've put pucks deep in this league," you know, kind of with a smirk. Half joking, but kind of serious too. Do you feel like the Habs really want a certain type of player? I think like one of KK's strength was control, like coming in the zone with the puck, you know, controlling the puck. And we don't have that many guys that can do that. Like coming in, they always have to chip it in and go get it. And I think they asked that of KK. Do you feel like we have a hard time in Montreal, like using skills like skilled guys and respecting their natural style of play. And you know, like KK is a good. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that goes down to coaching. I wouldn't say just in Montreal, and I wouldn't pin it on the management, but I would say that comes down to coaching style.
Right.
Claude definitely wanted KK to keep it simple.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of room for him to be creative. Maybe because he hadn't earned, the ability to, try to beat that guy 6 times. You turn it over twice. I'm okay with that. I don't think he's earned that yet.
Right.
But I also don't think telling him to dump the puck every time and get it on the forecheck was KK style. You drafted this guy as a 3rd overall player. Let him be creative and be the player that you were high enough to draft him at 3rd overall to be. So I think that goes down to coaching. And then you look at Dom, when he came back in the playoffs after being scratched, like he was great. And I think he thrived under him. So I don't know. I think Dom allows players to be a little more creative than Claude. I think, to be honest with you, I think Jonathan Drouin's going to be a guy that's going to be deadly under Dom. I truly believe that. I saw the interview he did with Chantal. Just a little snippet of it where, he's in a good headspace, which I'm so glad to hear. And I think that's going to be a good combination. Yeah,
absolutely. What do you think KK can become? What's his ceiling for you? Like, what type of player do you see him becoming in the next?
Yeah, like I don't know who I would compare him to, but I just think he's a big, consistent body. Like when you look at a guy, when you look at Jordan Staal in Carolina, when he was younger, big body, strong, very like bow-legged stride, kind of like KK. Mind you, I think Staal scored 29 goals or 30 goals his second year in the league, but I think you see some similarities there. But KK is obviously a little more offensive, like big center, fits in your number 2 hole, I think, very, very well. I heard they're going to play him on the wing, but we'll see what happens. But I think he's a really good center that can score 25 goals. And to me,
absolutely,
if you're a number 2 center that can score 25 goals, you're worth $6 million.
And 60, 65 plus points.
I think he can be a 25 goal, 25 assists, 30 assist guy, no problem.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm very sad.
He's just, man, what, and you can truly see, like, I see how he plays in games, but I've seen him in practice when he's loose and he's having fun and he's playing and he's ripping it. And he's got an absolute grenade of a shot. Like he can absolutely bomb it. It's just a matter of time.
The moment he's gonna just release a little quicker, because I think it's just his release is a little in the NHL. It's so fast, but the second he's gonna get that release fired up, he's gonna score 20 goals in the league.
When he gets a little confidence and gets playing, and I really hope for him. He's such a good kid. I really, really enjoyed playing with him. I wish nothing but the best. I really hope this year he just explodes and shoves it in their face.
So do I. I hoped he would have been in Montreal, but I really hope he's good. Last thing before letting you go, you started a podcast in the past year. It's called Habs Tonight, and it's on YouTube and it's on everywhere. Actually, like you can get it anywhere.
Yeah, you can find it anywhere. We're kind of all over the map. We just kind of started in February. It was something I was bored again. Like I said, I wasn't playing, so I found some people on Twitter that I was, I liked what they had to say. I asked them if they wanted to join the team and do some things. And we've kind of rolled with it. We didn't really have any set plan for it. We kind of just wing it as we go and have some fun. And I've had a chance to get some current guys on there. I've had some current players, Montreal, other teams. And, with the season starting up, it'll be a pretty good channel to follow. We'll have tons of content, pre-games, post-games, recaps, and all that. So it's going to be fun.
What's the schedule like? Are you guys always on like game days? What's the this?
Yeah, so pace? We were doing. I was doing interviews, throughout the summer on Wednesdays, which made more sense. And then now that I'm here and time difference, it's hard to get a hold of everybody. I like to do the interviews myself with my. I got a couple co-hosts that jump on and do interviews with me, but I preferred to do them on a Wednesday. But it's tough timing with everybody now, so they're kind of all over the place. And now getting into the season, I don't really like to bug guys, so we'll be doing more talking about the team. We go on a stream on YouTube, so people can come on live. They can talk with us. They can comment on the side. It's a really cool setup. And, once the season starts, we'll have pregame shows, postgame shows. All those will be live. And then we'll have some recap shows during the week. And I'll try to jump on as much as I can and talk Habs as much as I can.
Yeah, because like the post games show are going to be in the middle of the night for you, so I guess you'll be.
Yeah, so I can't jump on many of those. So
Yeah.
I got a really great team that does a great job. They're diehard, knowledgeable Habs fans. I truly, they're such cool people. I've really gotten close to them. So they do a great job. And again, very knowledgeable. Otherwise, I wouldn't have them on my team. So it's fun to tune in and just watch post game.
Yeah.
Fire it on your phone or whatever, and it's a good time.
Yeah, you've had some great clips. I mean, Nick Suzuki was on. It was a great.
He was
interview.
great. He was such a good interview.
Yeah.
He was. Not that I just, he's so reserved and he's such a nice guy. I wasn't sure how much he'd open up and talk, but man, I really enjoyed that interview. He's such a good kid. Another guy that I just love him. I wish the best for that guy.
And what a player he is. But
He's incredible.
My experience with the young guys on the podcast, it's always the hardest one, the ones to have, because they're so worried about saying something they shouldn't say, and they don't have a lot of experience and stories. And the best guys to have are the old guys, because they don't give a shit about nothing, and they have,
because you can say, like I said, that culture in the NHL where you can't say anything because it'll end up somewhere, and this guy coached you over here and he gets fired, and then he comes over here and gets a job, and then he fucks you. I love where I'm at right now, where I could literally jump on and I could give an honest opinion,
right?
No bias. And I get social media jumps on like, oh, you're just bitter because you're not playing. It's like, man, I don't give a shit. Why? What do I have to not tell you the truth? And that's why I love doing it, because I can finally be a voice for guys in the league that can't say what they really want to say.
Right.
And, give you some real stories on shit that actually happens that you'd never believe.
Are you so free and open because in your mind you've turned the page on the NHL, or to you it's like, oh, I might actually come back, I don't know? Or
No, I've turned the page for sure. Like I don't know how many more years I'll play.
Right.
Past this year. So I got some other business things going on that I have a lot of passion for, and I'm excited to jump into. But I've completely turned the page. So I have no, and I don't see myself coaching or working in the NHL. So I don't mind saying the truth about guys. If they were a shit coach, I don't mind saying it. If you're a bad teammate or what, I don't mind telling the truth. I can tell you the truth now.
Right. It feels good, doesn't it?
It feels great, man. It feels great. I wish the league would be a little more
open
and be that way, but it's tough, man, because the NHL, everybody hire the same guys. They just all circulate. So you can't really tell the truth about anybody.
Been the same guys for 20 years. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. You got to bring in some new blood.
Dale, this has been a blast. For the first 15-20 minutes, I thought this guy completely forgot.
No way, man.
You were
no
just
way. I was battling the internet, man. I wouldn't have missed it. I'm glad we got a chance to do this.
Everyone listening here, if you've made it through, it means you do speak English. So please go and check out Habs Tonight. It's really cool. You've got Annick Lemire and another guy with a French name, but they all have French names that speak English. That's so funny.
Well, she speaks French, and Shane speaks French too. So they do Le Tour de Ligue. I don't know if I said that correct, but they do They do a show too, all in French, which is kind of like a French recap show. So we got everyone covered: French, English, Habs fans, young, old. We got you covered.
And get in the comments. You guys can ask questions live after games, before games, and Dale's going to jump in. So, Dale, from the moment I saw you in that video room while Joel was pumping up, I knew you were good guys. You were good, and I even I had forgotten about that. But while the pandemic was going on for the comedians, it was terrible because you couldn't do anything, or you couldn't do any shows. And I remember doing this virtual online show in Old Port, Montreal, and coming out with my guitar and stuff. And I was like, and I came across someone that really looked like you, and I kind of was on the phone at the same time. And I was like, oh my God, was that Dale? And I thought that you saw me, and you're like, did that guy just fucking ignore me? And then I DM'd you like, hey, was that you? Cause if it was, I'm very sorry. I didn't it took I had to double check. I was not sure. I was on the phone at the same time. And you were like, that was not me.
Yeah, I would never do that to you.
And I was like, fuck, man. I thought, man, if that was me, he must have thought who does that little piece of shit think he is? I was like, no, but anyway, thanks so much for coming on. That was a blast. And, people are going to love this. So thank you again. And best of luck with Sweden And I don't know how many years you got in you, but you still got some great hockey in you. And I wish you the best.
Thank you very much, man. This was so fun. We got to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Round 2 coming up sometimes.
Hey, perfect, man. Sounds good.
Thank you, man.
Okay, later, buddy.
Boy! Merci à Dale Weise qui a pris le temps de nous jaser directement de la Suède. Je lui souhaite la meilleure des chances dans sa carrière. Toujours un plaisir d'y parler, toujours un plaisir d'entendre son opinion puis son vécu sur les choses. Je vous rappelle que son podcast s'appelle Habs Tonight. C'est disponible sur YouTube, sur Spotify, sur toutes les autres plateformes. Il en fait tout au long de l'année, donc allez voir ça. C'est vraiment cool d'avoir le point de vue de Dale. Je vous rappelle, écrivez-nous pour nous dire d'où vous nous écoutez. Ça nous fait toujours plaisir sur nos réseaux sociaux, sur Drette sur le tape, Instagram, Facebook, voilà. Et on se revoit dans pas long. OK, passez une belle semaine. Bye bye now.